Imagine stepping outside and finding a pond where a rusty wheelbarrow once slept, the water whispering over pebbles as sunlight breaks into shards of silver on a mirror totem nearby. Imagine a border of colored bottles glowing like tiny lanterns at dusk, while wind plays a soft tin can melody above a tower of flowers tumbling from old tires. What if every forgotten object in your shed was just waiting to become garden magic? Something designer, something personal, something that makes people stop and say, "How did you do that?" In the next moments, we'll turn ordinary junk into whimsical treasures you'll be proud to show off, one soulful idea at a time. Welcome to Archon Aesthetic Studio, where we turn trash into garden treasure with calm, whimsical style. If you love upcycled fairy corners, glowing borders, and tiny water features, you're in the right place. We drop a new episode every week, so hit subscribe and ring the bell to never miss the next idea. Before we begin, where are you watching from today? Leave your city or country in the comments. We'd love to see where our garden magic is traveling. One, Wheelbarrow Fairy Pond. Picture a forgotten wheelbarrow, its handles worn, its paint flaking with the memory of work long done. Now imagine it reborn, not as a relic of labor, but as a vessel of calm. Within its shallow basin, water gathers, shimmering like a mirror of the sky. Moss clings to the rim, softening the edges, while river pebbles tumble inside, catching each ripple like jewels in motion. A tiny solar pump sends a gentle stream tumbling over the side, a silver ribbon that whispers into the earth below. This pond is more than a trick of upcycling. It is a reminder that what once carried burdens can now carry beauty. In its surface you might see not just your garden reflected, but the arc of seasons, the stillness of a summer afternoon, the fleeting trace of a dragonfly pausing for a drink. The wheelbarrow, once forgotten, becomes a sanctuary of renewal, a pause point in the rush of the day. From here, let us follow the shimmer of light itself, to where broken mirrors scatter brilliance across the garden floor. Two, Mirror Shard Light Garden. At the edge of the garden, sunlight meets memory in fragments of glass. Shards once destined for the dustbin are now pieced together upon a wooden spine, each broken edge turned into a prism of possibility. When the morning light strikes, they scatter 1,000 tiny stars across the soil, dancing among leaves, playing across petals. This mirror shard totem is not merely a sculpture, it is a conductor of light. Every glimmer feels like a reminder that even the fractured can cast brilliance, that brokenness is not the end but a new beginning. As the day turns, the angles shift, and so too do the reflections. A kaleidoscope of shifting fireflies following the sun's slow arc. Children see magic here, chasing sparkles across the path. Gardeners see renewal, proof that beauty does not need to be whole to be radiant. In these slivers of silver, the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. And just beyond the shimmer of glass, imagine another form of glow, bottles rising from the earth, glowing like gems at dusk, guiding the eye into the next story of transformation. Three, glowing bottle borders. Along the garden's edge, glass once emptied and forgotten is reborn as a glowing guide. Bottles, pressed into the soil at a gentle tilt, rise like sentinels of color, emerald, sapphire, amber, catching the day's sunlight and scattering it back in jewel tones. At dusk, as the sky fades, they begin to glow from within, each one cradling a tiny firefly light. The border no longer marks separation. It becomes an invitation, drawing the wanderer deeper along the path. Each step is framed in quiet radiance, as though the earth itself were studded with gemstones. The soft gradient of color feels like a painter's brushstroke across the garden's foundation, a spectrum that changes with every passing hour. There is something humbling here, waste glass, shaped by human hands, returning to serve not with burden but with beauty. The bottles tell us that the everyday can gleam, that simplicity can shine brighter than ornament. And so, the path lined with glass leads us to the heart of the garden, where the unexpected blooms in even bolder form. An old tire, transformed into a towering cascade of flowers and vines. Four fairy tire towers. Once black and heavy, cast aside at the edge of memory, the tire becomes something new, an ascending tower of life. Painted in muted earthy tones, its circles rise one upon another, no longer a wheel of burden but a pedestal of bloom. From the topmost ring, vines tumble down like waterfalls of green, trailing ivy that softens every edge. Bright blossoms burst outward, filling the air with color, scent, and motion as bees wander through the layered heights. This tower is not merely a stack of rubber, it is a staircase for the imagination. Each layer feels like a balcony where nature pauses to perform, petals swaying, leaves trembling, light dancing across glossy surfaces. What was once a symbol of roads and endings becomes a monument of renewal, proof that height and beauty can be carved from what was left behind. As you stand before it, the eye climbs upward, following each curve until it reaches the crown of flowers, a miniature tower in the garden, regal and rustic all at once. And from the soundless poetry of vines, the garden now invites us to listen, to a melody made not of color but of air and movement, tin can chimes singing in the breeze. 5. Tin Can Wind Orchestra. From the quiet of the garden rises a voice, not spoken, but sung by the wind itself. Suspended beneath a weathered beam of driftwood, tin cans once emptied of purpose now shimmer with painted hues and ring with gentle tones. Some are deep and resonant, others light and playful, together weaving a melody that belongs only to the breeze. As the air stirs, the garden listens. Shadows of the cans sway across stone and soil, while their music drifts between flowers and vines. Each clang is softened by distance, each note becoming part of the day's rhythm. Bees hum, leaves rustle, cans sing. What was once cast aside now finds its place in harmony, turning refuse into resonance. There is poetry in this orchestra of the ordinary. It reminds us that beauty need not be silent, that sound too can be an art of renewal. To stand here is to feel the invisible hand of the wind conducting, drawing out from tin and rope a song of resilience. And just as sound fills the air, so too can silence cradle life, In the smallest of vessels, teacups reborn as tiny gardens. Six, Teacup's Succulent Library. There is a quiet intimacy in small things. A teacup, once cradled for warmth, now holds life of another kind. Each cup carries a miniature succulent, rosettes unfolding like stars in porcelain skies, textures of jade and silver etched against cracked glaze. Placed together on the rungs of an old wooden ladder, they form a library of living treasures, each shelf a chapter, each plant a story. The ladder itself leans gently, weathered but steady, lending its history to the arrangement. The cups sit in tiers, mismatched yet harmonious, their colors echoing the blooms around them. Morning light catches the rims and the waxy leaves alike, reflecting back a softness that feels both nostalgic and new. To pause before this display is to feel time slow down. These are not grand gestures of the garden, but whispers, the kind of beauty you must come closer to see. They remind us that care resides in the smallest corners, that renewal can be delicate, that memory itself can grow roots. And just beyond this ladder of stories, the ground unfolds into a path of fragments and color, broken ceramics reborn as a mosaic trail beneath wandering feet. Seven, Mosaic Fairy Trail. Beneath the feet of wanderers, a trail unfolds, each step set upon fragments of what was once whole. Shattered ceramics, chipped plates, broken tiles, all pieced together with intention until they sing as one. The path bends and curves, a ribbon of color through green, holding within it tiny secrets. A star hidden in blue shards, a leaf traced in amber glaze, a moon nestled in pale porcelain. Walking here feels less like passage and more like story. The crunch of footsteps is softened by time creeping between cracks, releasing scent as memory. Sunlight spills across glossy surfaces, setting them alight, so that even the smallest fragment gleams with purpose. It is not perfection that makes the trail beautiful, but the celebration of imperfection, proof that what is broken can guide, that discarded pieces can still lead us home. The garden becomes a gallery underfoot, reminding each visitor that every shard has a place, every fragment a chance to belong. And as this colorful trail winds onward, it carries us to another transformation, where worn boots, scuffed by journeys past, cradle new blossoms in their weathered embrace. Eight, Story-worn boot planters. Once they carried miles of footsteps, softened roads with their weight, endured rain, mud, and time. Now, these story-worn boots stand still, laces loosened, leather cracked, yet alive in another way. From their openings, flowers burst forth, marigolds, petunias, wild daisies, spilling where once only dust gathered. A small tag dangles from one boot, scribbled with a date or a name, a whisper of journeys past. There is tenderness in their rebirth. Every scuff and crease tells of movement, of places reached, of effort spent. Now those same scars frame blossoms, proof that nothing ends, it only changes form. The boots no longer march forward. Instead, they root firmly, transforming into guardians of color and memory. As the wind drifts across, the flowers sway like a new story unfolding from old leather. The traveler rests, and in resting, becomes a home for life. Beauty here is not polished. It is humble, heartfelt, and enduring. And so the path continues, drawing our eyes upward toward a different kind of circle. Bicycle wheels lifted into trellises, where vines spiral like stars through spokes of silver. Nine, bicycle wheel Stargate trellis. Circles within circles rise from the garden floor, forged not from stone or steel, but from the wheels of forgotten bicycles. Their spokes, once turning on endless roads, now stand still, transformed into a trellis, a gateway, a portal for climbing green. Ivy and roses weave their way through the silver threads, softening metal into living lace. As the vines climb, the structure takes on the air of a stargate, an opening that frames the sky, a circle through which imagination can pass. Light filters through the spokes, scattering into patterns that shift with every hour. Dew catches in the mornings, sparkling like constellations stretched across an earthly horizon. There is something timeless here, as though the garden itself has carved a doorway to another world. The bicycle wheels remind us of journeys once taken. The vines remind us of journeys still to come. Together, they stand as a meeting of motion and stillness, of memory and growth. And beyond this circle of steel and green, the garden leans back into vertical bloom again. Pallets stacked and filled, transformed into living walls of herbs and flowers. Pallet fairy wall. Against the backdrop of wood and sky, a wall of life emerges. From a discarded pallet, weathered, rough, once meant for burden, comes a canvas of green. Its planks are carved into pockets, each pocket cradling herbs and flowers, each row a story of growth. Basil mingles with lavender, thyme drapes beside petunias, a chorus of scents and colors rising together. The wall feels alive, not flat but textured, its rhythm drawn from the repetition of wood and leaf. As you step closer, you notice the tiny details. The soft fuzz of mint leaves, the sudden burst of marigold orange, the way tendrils spill downward like rivers of green. Morning light catches on dew, turning the whole surface into a tapestry shimmering with freshness. Here, utility becomes beauty. The palette no longer hides in the shadows of work. It takes the stage, holding not boxes but blooms, not weight but wonder. It is both garden and gallery, a living mural that changes with every season. And from this wall of fragrance and color, the eye is drawn to another creation. Metal formed into geometry, copper pipes reborn as elegant hangers for suspended plants. Copper pipe geometric hangers. From the language of industry comes a softer verse. Copper pipes, once meant to carry water unseen, are cut and joined into geometric frames, triangles, diamonds, shapes of quiet precision. Suspended in the air, they cradle small pots of succulents, ivy, or trailing ferns, turning lines of metal into lines of poetry. The glow of copper is warm against the green, a subtle shimmer that deepens with time as patina whispers across its surface. By day, sunlight catches the angles, painting shifting patterns on the ground below. By night, the forms linger like lanterns without flame, their silhouettes etched in memory. There is balance here, the rigid and the organic, the crafted and the grown. Each hanger seems both simple and refined, its strength hidden in the ease of its design. It asks little, yet gives much, elevating the smallest plant into something seen, something celebrated. Standing beneath them, you feel the quiet elegance of restraint. It is not the abundance of bloom that astonishes, but the way a humble pipe becomes art in the garden. And as copper holds green aloft, our gaze falls once more to the ground, where broken concrete finds purpose as stepping stones of a fairy path. Concrete Relic Stepping Garden. Beneath the rhythm of footsteps, brokenness finds new form. Fragments of concrete, jagged, irregular, once dismissed as rubble, are laid tenderly into the earth. Between them, time creeps, its fragrance rising with each touch, softening the hardness with living green. The path stretches like a relic mosaic, imperfect yet whole, guiding walkers through beds of flowers and herbs. Morning dew lingers on the rough gray surfaces, while afternoon sun casts warm shadows that dance with the leaves. What was meant to be discarded now invites passage, its cracks transformed into veins of life. This stepping garden speaks of balance, the weight of stone held by the gentleness of growth. Each slab tells of past foundations, yet together they become a new beginning. The time hums quietly with bees, the air scented with memory and renewal. Walking here is not just movement, it is meditation. Each step reminds us that even the broken can be placed with purpose, that the ground beneath us can hold stories of both ruin and restoration. And just beyond these relic stones, the garden lifts its gaze skyward once more, toward playful pockets of herbs and blooms stitched into fabric walls. Bottle-Cloche Micro Greenhouse. In the quiet cradle of soil, tender seedlings push upward, fragile as whispers. Over them stand guardians made from the simplest of things, plastic bottles, cut and inverted, their transparency forming tiny domes of protection. Within these cloches, warmth gathers, droplets form like morning dew on glass, and the young green inside grows strong in its borrowed shelter. The bottles, once emptied and forgotten, now serve a new purpose: to hold the beginning of life against the cold, against the wind, against chance itself. Each dome is a promise, a shield that says, "Grow here, grow safely." From above, the row of cloches gleams like a line of lanterns, small beacons of resilience in the garden bed. There is humility in this transformation. Nothing grand, nothing costly, yet within it lies the future of bloom and harvest. The smallest plastic fragment becomes a bridge between waste and wonder, survival and growth. To kneel beside these tiny greenhouses is to witness patience, the slow unfolding of possibility under clear walls. And from these sheltered beginnings, the path leads us onward, to fabric and pockets, where herbs and blooms dangle like notes of fragrance on a living wall. 14. Fairy herb pockets. Against a humble cloth hangs a wall of fragrance. Once a simple organizer, now transformed, its pockets cradle green lives. Basil in one, mint in another, lavender trailing softly beside rosemary. Each pocket releases a note, together composing a symphony of scent that drifts into the garden air. The cloth itself, faded and modest, becomes a canvas of textures and colors. Leaves shimmer in the light, small flowers peek between stems, and handwritten tags whisper the names of each herb like a gardener's poem. From afar, it is a tapestry of green. Up close, it is a sensory journey, touch, scent, memory bound in fabric. This wall is more than vertical gardening. It is intimacy hung where the eye can meet it daily. To brush your hand across time and release its fragrance is to feel both present and ancient, as if connecting to kitchens, gardens, and traditions long before. The herb pockets remind us that even the simplest fabric can be reborn as nourishment, beauty, and story. And as these pockets sway with wind and fragrance, the garden invites us to climb once more, toward ladders repurposed into rustic stages for blooms and foliage. (15) Rustic ladder plant theater. Leaning gently against the garden's edge, the ladder tells its old story of work, of reaching upward, of hands long past. Yet now it stands in another role, no longer tool but stage. Upon its rungs sit pots of every kind, herbs fragrant with memory, flowers blazing with color, trailing vines that spill downward like curtains drawn across a rustic theater. Each level offers a different act. The lower rungs hum with humble greens, basil and thyme reaching for the sun. Midway, blossoms unfurl, reds and yellows and purples like voices rising together. At the top, ivy drapes like a dancer's arm, flowing gently with the breeze. Light filters through leaves and pottery, casting shadows that shift as day turns. This ladder plant theater transforms labor into artistry. Its wood bears the marks of years, yet now frames new growth. To stand before it is to feel both history and renewal. The ladder once helped us rise, now it helps the garden rise. And as the eye climbs each rung of color and scent, it eventually meets the unexpected. Sculptures of rusted metal, relics reassembled into shapes that tell forgotten stories. (16) Metal scrap story sculpture. From rust and ruin, a figure emerges. Old spades, bent rakes, fragments of iron once left to weather in silence are gathered and joined, shaped into a story told without words. Perhaps it is a bird with wings open, or a tree reaching skyward. Whatever the eye sees, the heart fills in. The sculpture stands like a folklore totem, a memory of labor transformed into art. Each piece bears the mark of its past, worn edges, chipped paint, the patina of seasons endured. Together, they no longer speak of utility but of imagination. Sunlight glints off rusted curves, while shadows cast on the ground create patterns that shift with every passing hour. Even in stillness, the sculpture seems alive, a sentinel keeping watch over blooms and pathways. It is the garden's storyteller, a reminder that history can be repurposed, that what once served in toil can now serve in beauty. To stand before it is to listen to echoes of work, resilience, and transformation. And as the garden's story carries forward, the ground whispers again, inviting us toward a bridge of pebbles and branches, where fairy steps cross from one corner of wonder to the next. "17. Pebble-and-Branch Fairy Bridge." Where a trickle of water wins or a dry rill rests, a bridge rises, humble in scale, but rich in wonder. Its frame is woven from branches, curved and bound together as though nature herself bent to form an arch. Across its span, smooth pebbles are laid, each one a step of story, cool to the touch, soft in their rounded silence. To cross here is to enter another rhythm. Moss clings at the edges, thyme and ferns lean close, and if water flows, its murmur joins the rustle of leaves above. In the stillness, the bridge feels alive, a passageway less for feet than for the imagination. Children may call it a fairy crossing. Wanderers may see it as a threshold between the ordinary and the enchanted. The bridge teaches gentleness, that grandeur is not needed when grace lies in simplicity. Branch and stone, two discarded elements, come together to create a path that feels eternal, timeless, inevitable. And from this crossing of wood and stone, the eye travels to another humble form transformed, drawers pulled from forgotten furniture, now rising as rustic raised beds filled with blooms and harvest. "18. Drawer Box Raised Trio." From the forgotten corners of furniture, drawers step into the light once more. No longer sliding in and out of silence, they stand tall and open, painted like crates from another era. Stenciled numbers adorn their faces, recalling market stalls and storied travels. Together, three of them form a trio, each at a different height, each cradling life in soil and bloom. Herbs rise fragrant from one, basil and mint brushing against fingertips. Another bursts with flowers, marigolds spilling yellow like captured suns. The third leans rustic, thyme and creeping greens trailing softly over its edge. Their arrangement is not accidental. It is harmony, height layered into rhythm, transforming what was once cast aside into a stage of growth. The paint, distressed by time, speaks of age, but the plants within speak of renewal. In their contrast lies the heart of upcycling, past and present living together, wood and root in quiet partnership. To pause here is to see possibility in every forgotten piece of furniture, to imagine 1,000 gardens hidden in every drawer. And from these vintage crates of bloom, the garden shifts once more, toward clay pots tilted and stacked, water trickling softly into a fountain of sound and light. "19. Clay Pot Stacked Fountain." Terracotta speaks the language of earth, warm, porous, humble. Once empty pots, chipped and weathered, now tilt in graceful sequence, each one catching water before letting it fall to the next. The gentle trickle threads its way downward, a soft cascade that turns silence into song. The sound is not loud but steady, like a memory retold in whispers. Light dances on each drop, scattering gold across mossy stones at the base. The pots themselves, aged by time, carry streaks of moss and patina, making the fountain feel timeless, as though it has always belonged to the garden. It is a reminder that beauty lies not in perfection, but in the dialogue between what has been and what can be. Clay shaped by fire, worn by years, now cradles water in endless motion, renewal flowing over relics of use. To sit nearby is to feel calm settle in, to let the sound wash through thought and still the heart. This fountain is not grand, but it is intimate, a well of serenity. And as the water trails off, the ear turns again to sound. This time to rain captured and guided, a chain of spoons and cans creating melody in a corner of the garden. "20. Spoon and can rain chain." When the sky opens, the garden listens. Rain slides from roof to chain, but here, the fall is slowed, softened, given voice. Spoons, polished by time, catch each droplet, passing it to small cans below, each container chiming faintly as water leaps from edge to edge. Together they form a rain melody, a song composed only when clouds decide to play. The chain glistens, alive with movement. Sunlight filters through the storm, catching drops like liquid silver. At the base, the water gathers in a bowl of pebbles, rippling outward in circles that echo the sky's rhythm. In quiet moments after rain, the metal still drips, offering a gentle aftersong, a memory of the storm. This rain chain is more than a tool. It is an instrument. It reminds us that even the most practical needs, guiding water away, can be turned into poetry with a little imagination. From discarded spoons and cans comes not waste, but wonder, sound, shine, and serenity woven into weather. And with this final note, the garden rests, an orchestra of upcycled treasures, each piece once forgotten, now part of a symphony of renewal. If today's ideas sparked your imagination, let them take root. Share your favorite transformation in the comments, and tell us which corner of your yard is calling for a little magic next. If this video helped, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who's about to throw away the perfect treasure. See you in next week's episode, where we'll reveal another simple way to make your garden look designer for almost nothing. Until then, keep creating, keep reimagining, and keep growing.